You may have heard the major scoop, the October surprise, if you will, by The Atlantic. They reported how Donald Trump initially agreed to pay for the funeral of a soldier, but then when he got the bill, said, why would I pay that amount of effing money for a Mexican, or words to that effect. I want to talk about that, but I think it's important to also note who Donald Trump would not pay for their burial as well. And so this shouldn't surprise us, because what's one of the things that's most ghoulish, I think, about Donald Trump, and there's so many things. His first wife, Ivana, the mother of Eric, Don Jr., and Ivanka, where she is buried, Donald Trump put her body in the back lot of Bedminster and allowed the shrubs to grow over it. Many have said that he made this back swamp area into a burial site so he could try to get tax benefits. I heard lots of people speculating that that's the reason that he did it, but how ghoulish can it be? But then we need to unpack other layers as well, because once upon a time, Ivana actually accused Donald Trump of sexually assaulting her. She later retracted that statement that she made in court filings, and she said not like a literal sexual assault. She said, but you can judge for yourself. I want to unpack this all right now. It's so vitally important. So here's what The Atlantic published. Trump volunteered to pay for the funeral of a murdered soldier. But when the bill came, he became angry. It doesn't cost $60,000 to bury an effing Mexican, Donald Trump said. He turned to his then chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and issued an order, according to this article in The Atlantic. Do not pay it. By the way, in that same article, Donald Trump is quoted as saying, I need the kind of generals that Hitler had. And as my brother wrote, Trump saying he needs generals like Hitler is the only second most newsy piece of this article to put things in perspective. And this is separate, by the way, from the breaking news yesterday from the New York Times of Donald Trump's former chief of staff, General John Kelly, who said that multiple times Donald Trump made statements about he thought Hitler was great and he thought Hitler's generals were great. I did a whole other video of that breaking down all of the statements Donald Trump has made where he basically echoes verbatim the types of things that Hitler says. Also, Ivana once said that Donald Trump's favorite books was a book by Hitler that he kept with him very, very close. That was previously reported. All right, so remember when the Daily Mail posted this? Ivana Trump's cordoned-off grave is barely visible in completely overgrown area of Trump's 506-acre Bedminster, New Jersey golf course. Take a look at the treatment of the mother of Eric and Ivanka and Don Jr. Now, you know I despise those trust fund kids. You know I think that they have caused so much damage. And I think they're to blame for this as well. How do you let that happen to your mom? How do you let that happen? Can you think of anything more ghoulish than that? So, as Michael Cohen was saying to me on Political Beatdown, you think he's going to pay $60,000 when this is how he treats his own, the mother of his 3 children? Think about that. But then when we pull back the layers even more, let's not forget the book that came out. It's called The Lost Tycoon. And in this book, The Lost Tycoon, go look it up if you want to read this book yourself. They reported on an incident involving Donald Trump and Ivana based on the court records and court filings from their divorce. I want to give you a trigger warning right now, but it's important that you hear this story word for word as taken from court documents and filings. Now, I will mention Ivana has retracted this statement in a legal settlement with Donald Trump, and I want you to read what she said there too. Let's just go through this together. Again, a trigger warning, but we can't cover our eyes and close our ears to what's happened. That's what corporate media wants to do. That's not what we do here, okay? Let's go through it. Ivana Trump has been relaxing in the master bedroom of the Trump Tower triplex, thinking about the trip she will be taking to Tahiti. The trip will not be just for a vacation. It has to do with the Donald's business. Lauren Ettis, the widow of the late Trump gaming division, Mark Ettis, will be going with her. Ivana has been hoping the trip will help them get over the tragedy of the helicopter crash. Put an asterisk there for a second. There's more I want to talk about as we're unpacking these layers about the helicopter crash. Okay. Suddenly, according to Ivana, the Donald storms into the room. He's looking very angry and he's cursing out loud. "Your fucking doctor has ruined me," he screams at Ivana. The Donald flings Ivana down onto the bed. Then he pins back her arms and grabs her by the hair. The part of her head he is grabbing corresponds to the spot on his head where the scalp reduction operation has been done. The Donald starts ripping out Ivana's hair by the handful as if he's trying to make her feel the same kind of pain that he is feeling. Ivana starts crying and screaming. The entire bed is being covered with strands of her golden locks, but the Donald is not finished. He rips off her clothes and unzips his pants. Then he jams his penis inside her for the first time in more than 16 months. Ivana is terrified. This is not lovemaking. This is not romantic sex. It is a violent assault. She later describes what the Donald is doing to her in no uncertain terms. According to the version she repeats to some of her closest confidants, "He to me, Donald me," she said. When the Donald finally pulls out, Ivana jumps up from the bed. Then she runs upstairs to her mother's room. She locks the door and stays there, crying for the rest of the night. The next morning, Ivana musters up the courage to return to the master bedroom. The Donald is there waiting for her. He leaves, no doubt that he knows exactly what he did to her the night before. As she looks in horror at the ripped out hair scattered all over the bed, he glares at her and asks with a menacing casualness, "Does it hurt? Does it hurt?" Now, here is a statement at the end. On April 7, 1993, when the first printing of Lost Tycoon was awaiting shipment, the publisher who had met with Donald Trump and his lawyers on March 3rd received the following communique from Donald Trump's lawyers. The statement by Ivana Trump does not contradict or invalidate any information contained in this book, and it is included here only to give full expression to the differing points of view on an important event. Statement of Ivana Trump. This was part of some settlement that she had with Donald. During a deposition given by me in connection with my matrimonial case, I stated that my husband had raped me. I wish to say that on one occasion during 1989, Mr. Trump and I had marital relations in which he behaved very differently toward me than he had during our marriage. As a woman, I felt violated, as the love and tenderness which he normally exhibited toward me was absent. I referred to this as rape, but I do not want my words to be interpreted in a literal or criminal sense. Any contrary conclusion would be an incorrect and most unfortunate interpretation of my statement, which I do not want to be interpreted in a speculative fashion, and I do not want the press or media to misconstrue any of the facts set forth above. All I wish is for this matter to be put to rest. This statement can only be released and used in its entirety. Approved, Ivana M. Trump, dated April 6, 1993. And I bet you haven't heard that anywhere other than here on the MeidasTouch network, maybe a handful of other independent media networks. But we've been talking about this passage now for years. And now that Donald Trump is quoted by The Atlantic as saying what he said about that brave and courageous soldier's burial, I wanted to highlight this incident about Ivana.
Are you looking for something simple and delicious to add to your wellness routine? Here's the thing. I used to put regular honey into a lot of my foods, breakfast tea, protein, but then I was introduced to Manacora, and Manacora puts that regular honey to shame. I love the flavor, richness, creaminess, and all the health benefits Manacora honey brings to the table. The best way to use Manacora is straight from the spoon first thing in the morning, letting the creamy texture melt in your mouth and coat your throat. Manacora honey is rich, creamy, and the most delicious honey you've ever had. It's ethically ethically produced by Manicora's master beekeepers in the remote forests of New Zealand. Manacora honey contains powerful nutrients to support immunity and gut health. The bees collect the nectar from the Manuka tea tree in New Zealand. The nectar is packed with bioactives, and the honey that is produced has 3 times more antioxidants and prebiotics than your average honey. A special bacterial compound called MgO also comes from the nectar of the tea tree. Manacora third-party tests every single harvest for MgO and makes these results available through their QR system. It's a game changer, and all you need is 1 heaped teaspoon each morning to get the most out of the amazing bioactives in Manuka. Additional usage throughout the day is completely fine, especially helping to cut out other sweeteners. It's a honey with superpowers. Now it's easier than ever to try Manacora honey. Head to manacora.com/Meidas to get $25 off the starter kit, which comes with an MgO 850 plus Manuka honey jar, 5 honey travel sticks, a wooden spoon, and a guidebook. That's manacora.com/MEIDAS.
Remember when I said, though, let's leave a little asterisk next to the helicopter crash. Remember I said that? Because what happened there was Donald Trump's executive who ran his gaming division was killed in a helicopter crash. What did Donald Trump do? Donald Trump then lied and pretended that he was supposed to be on that helicopter, which he wasn't. And he had all of the media write stories that he almost died, and he turned it into yet another story about himself. And you may remember recently as well, Donald Trump's been lying about being on a helicopter with Willie Brown that almost crashed. Do you remember that? And Willie Brown said, I was never on a helicopter with him that almost crashed. What are you talking about? So even there, we see again Donald Trump continuing to lie over and over again. Now that you know that story, I want to share this with you. This is what Republican Voters Against Trump published back when there was 96 days left before the election. Let me be very clear. We're less than 2 weeks away from the election. So ignore on top where it says 96 days left. We are days from the election. So make sure you are early voting and that you've got family members, coworkers, neighbors to early vote. And if they need some motivation, show them this video right now, please, and put in the comments how you've helped get people to early vote, please. But here's Donald Trump describing his relationship with his then wife, Ivana. And this was back a little bit ago when Republican Voters Against Trump published this. Play this clip.
I'll tell you truthfully, we don't have tremendous fights. We should have world record setting fights, but we really don't. We get along very well, and there's not a lot of disagreement because ultimately Ivana does exactly as I tell her to do.
See, wait a minute.
Male chauvinist.
Right, men? Is that right?
All right. Now that brings me to also show you this. Here's a photo. You see Donald Trump there. It's him. You see Ivana right next to him. And there you see across from him, E. Jean Carroll, who Donald Trump sexually assaulted. Donald Trump was found liable of sexually assaulting E. Jean Carroll. So when Donald Trump was asked in the E. Jean Carroll deposition to identify who that was, because Donald Trump said that he would not rape E. Jean Carroll because she is not a chosen one or she is not his type. He says she is not his type, he said. But then Donald Trump thought that E. Jean Carroll was his second wife, Marla Maples, as he's there with his first wife, Ivana, in that photo. Watch Donald Trump in his own words, and you'll hear Alina Habba in the background trying to coach him. Here, watch this.
I think so, yes.
And do you recall when you first saw this photo?
At some point during the process, I saw it. That's, I guess, her husband, John Johnson, who was an anchor for ABC. Nice guy. I thought, I mean, I don't know him, but I thought he was pretty good at what he did. I don't even know who the woman, let's see, I don't know who, it's Marla.
You say Marla's in this photo?
That's Marla, yeah, that's my wife.
Which woman are you pointing to? No.
Here. Oh, is that,
the person you just pointed to was E. Jean Carroll.
Who is that? Who is this?
And the woman on the right is your then wife,
I don't
Ivana?
know, this was the picture. I assume that's John Johnson. Is that
That's Carroll?
Because it's very blurry.
As part of a deposition, Donald Trump also suggested under oath that his sexual assault victims loved being assaulted by him. Here, play this clip.
She actually indicated that she loved it. Okay, she loved it until commercial break. In fact, I think she said it was sexy, didn't she? It was very sexy to be raped. Didn't she say that?
So, sir, I just want to confirm, it's your testimony that E. Jean Carroll said that she loved being sexually assaulted by you?
Well, based on her interview with Anderson Cooper, I believe that's what took place. We can define that. You'll have to show that.
And now here is Donald Trump at a young Republican event. So he's speaking to kids here, teenagers, teenage boys, teenage girls, college men, young college women right here. That's the young Republicans of New York at this event that I'm about to show you. And he tells these young kids and young adults, 18 years old, 17, 16, 15, 19, 20, under 21, he says to them, look, the most courageous thing I've done, he said, he goes, and generals tell me this. They say, sir, the most courageous thing you did is when you bragged about grabbing women by their genitals, when you brag about sexually assaulting women, and then you called it locker room talk. Donald Trump says that a general told him that the general never saw anything more courageous in their entire lives than Donald Trump making a joke about how he sexually assaults women. Here, play this clip.
But I went onto that stage just a few days later, and a general who's a fantastic general actually said to me, sir, I've been on the battlefield. Men have gone down on my left and on my right. I stood on hills where soldiers were killed. But I believe the bravest thing I've ever seen was the night you went onto that stage with Hillary Clinton after what happened. And then that woman asked you the first question about it. And I said, locker room talk. It's locker room talk. What the hell? What are you talking? Locker room talk. That was not a great...
So I leave you with this, and I want everybody to watch this conclusion right here, but I'm specifically also talking to some of the fathers out there, talking to some of the men out there, and I'm talking to some of the boys who may want to be men out there, like I hope you do. Here's an ad from the Lincoln Project, and what they say is, with this election 2 weeks away, and the women in your life are counting on you to be a man. Be a man. And let me go off script here, because being a man is not attacking marginalized communities. Being a man is not attacking LGBTQ communities. Being a man is not attacking women, berating women. Being a man is not ripping away people's freedoms. Being a man is not mocking people. It's the opposite of what being a man is. That's what pathetic people do. That's what pathetic losers do. How pathetic losers behave. I knew people like that in high school. I knew people like that in college. They were freaking losers out there. And the fact that Donald Trump and this MAGA brigade of losers want to teach young freaking boys that that's how you're supposed to behave. How dare you? It's one of the most tragic things of all about this. There's so many things, but trying to teach boys that that's how you behave. No, you don't. No, you don't. I'm going to show you this ad by the Lincoln Project. Let's play it.
I don't want you ever to have to worry if you think something's wrong. I don't want you to worry if you have to see a doctor. I don't want a doctor to have to worry about seeing you. I want you to have the same freedom that your mom had. And I want you to make your own choices without anybody making you feel like you're wrong or making you feel guilty or having anything to say about it. That's what I want.
Thanks.
Everything else is just trivia.
On Tuesday, November 5th, vote for Harris Walz. It's too important to stay at home.
There you have it. hit subscribe. Let's get to 4 million subscribers together. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.